So here we are in chapter, what is it? Chapter 10, Curriculum Essentials. Time to learn about how some of these programs work. So, first of all, what is curriculum? It's all of the experiences in a program that make up a child's day. A curriculum is not a workbook that you read before you start class and figure out how to do your lesson plans. Curriculum is everything that's happening in an early childhood classroom. So it's planned and unplanned learning. And what that means is curriculum involves things like how you put your schedule together. It involves things like where you put furniture in your classroom, how you set up your learning environment. This is all part of curriculum. So when we talk about curriculum, I want you to remember that it's not just, you can buy this curriculum. It's everything that's happening because of the way children learn, right? They learn through experiences. So all the experiences that you're doing are part of your curriculum. For early childhood, we, of course, want to provide a play-based curriculum because that means children are learning by doing. So we talk about play all the time as relates to children, and sometimes people don't understand exactly what that means. It doesn't mean that children are just unsupervised playing all the time. It means that children are learning through the experiences that they're having. They're having engaged, hands-on things to do at school. So I think sometimes we use play when we really mean experience, hands-on, stuff like that. So we support their play by providing open-ended materials. That means we have blocks that don't have a specific way that they need to be used. So children can use their imaginations and their creativity to figure out how to use this stuff, right? So you shouldn't have all things that it's very clear how this thing works. You should have materials that encourage creativity, spontaneity, different thoughts, right? Guiding, directing, but not dominating. So you should be watching the children, seeing what they're doing, keeping them safe, and sometimes saying, hey, what if you use this way? Or do you want to try this? But not saying, now we're going to play with blocks. And everyone needs to take out a red block and a blue block. Put your red block on the bottom, put your blue block on top. That's an important thing for learning how to follow directions, right? But it's not necessarily teaching children how to think for themselves or think differently or think creatively. Participating, but not overwhelming, like you're supposed to be there, but you shouldn't be the center of the play. Modeling play when necessary. Sometimes you have toys in your classroom or items in your classroom that kids don't know how to play with, and so they never do. And I hear this a lot from teachers. Well, I put out all this stuff and the kids don't play. They only play in cars, or they only play in dolls. Well, that may be, I almost dropped my thing. That may be because they don't know how to play chutes and ladders, or they don't know what to do with this new thing that you've put in their classroom. So sometimes you just need to get that thing that nobody's ever played with off the shelf, sit down and start playing with it and show the kids how it works, right? And then they may come up with their own ways of playing with it that are a little bit different than what you've done. Modeling problem solving, right? So two kids are fighting over something. What do? You can say, oh, Jamie and Erica, I see that you're fighting over the dolls. Look, we have several dolls in the doll area. Do you want to each play with your own doll? How could we solve this problem? What are some things that we could do so that you both are having more fun today? Something like that. Asking questions. Hey, what are you doing? Right? Open-ended questions. Asking a question that has multiple answers or invites a lot of discussion, right? Not just a closed-ended question. So, hey, what are you doing? Invites a lot of language maybe, or, oh, I see you're playing with the blocks. What are you going to make today? Things like that. Encouraging interaction, putting children together so that they have to work together, right? Helping them learn to work together, helping them verbalize their ideas and feelings. Here's one of the things that if you've ever taken a class from me, you've heard this before. And for some of you, this may be the first time, so get used to it. I don't like the phrase use your words because I don't know what that means. And especially if I'm a little kid, right? A way of saying it that little kids would understand is use your talking or ask a question. How are you feeling? Why are you crying? What is happening that's making you so upset? This is a way you verbalize ideas and feelings, not use your words. I've seen too many teachers stand in one area of the classroom and sort of yell at a kid who's crying or upset about something. Use your words, and it doesn't tell the kid what I want them to do, right? It tells them use your words, but the way language development happens, children don't understand words, right? They understand talking. So you can say, can you talk about what's going on? That's a much better way of doing it. Extending play by making statements, asking questions. Oh, I see you're playing with the dollhouse. What are the dolls doing today? Where are they going to go? What are you going to have them do? That extends their play. It makes children think about what's the next thing that we're going to do. Okay. Effective curriculum means children are active and engaged. The goals are clear. So what you're trying to do is clear. It's evidence-based, which means we know that children respond to this. This has been researched, and there's evidence that children respond in this way. Content is learned through investigation, play, and focused intentional teaching. It's not the content that you want to teach children isn't learned through, now I'm going to teach your ABCs. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Everyone say it with me, ABC. There's no context for that. So you need to be pointing to things on the wall. You need to be talking about words that start with those letters. You need to be talking about the sounds that those letters make, right? It builds on prior learning experience. What do the kids in your classroom know? If you're trying to teach them about the weather and it's sunny outside, right? You should be talking about sunny outside. Have they had experiences with rain, snow? Talk about that. If they haven't, then maybe you can teach it in a different way. One way of prior learning and experience for things that kids don't experience in their real lives is to read a book about it, right? So a kid may not have been to a rodeo, but you can read a book about a rodeo and it talks about how the animals work, how the cowboys work, that kind of stuff. Professional standards validate the curriculum's subject matter content. So does this match up with the standards for the state? Does it match up with the standards for NAEYC? And curriculum is likely to benefit children. Like, we don't want to be teaching them things that aren't going to be helpful to them. An integrated curriculum is a whole child curriculum, and it is subject areas are across the learning activity, cut across the learning activity and reinforce concepts in meaningful ways as children engage in their work and play. What that means is that you aren't just teaching numbers in math time. In preschool, you're teaching numbers all day long, right? When we're lining up, we're counting. When we're going out to the playground, we're counting how many steps it takes to get there. When we're doing snack, we're counting how many people are sitting at the table and how many graham crackers we need. That's integrating your curriculum, right? Singing, when you're singing throughout all of the day, that's language development that you are integrating throughout your curriculum. Emergent comes out of children's experiences and interests. So this would be a specific thing where, like, if you see the kids are playing pirates on the playground all the time, maybe you bring that back into the classroom and you talk about pirates and you encourage pirate talking. You encourage counting that relates to pirates. How many pirates are on the ship? Things like that. So you're using things that children are already interested in and experiencing and bringing it into your curriculum. And inclusive is an awareness of the culture, the language, gender, abilities, including everybody in your curriculum. So what you don't want to do is set up something that only appeals to, some people in the classroom, right? So we used to do a dinosaur unit, and the boys tended to really like it, and the girls were like, dinosaurs, really? So we talked about ways that we could incorporate both boys and girls into dinosaurs, and figured out ways to make that work. Okay. These are some planning forms that you can use to plan for your classroom. So you can see if you're doing themes, there's a theme and date. What are we going to do in large group time? What are we going to do for small group time? What are we going to do in the different centers in our classroom? So this is the most important thing about this is the learning objectives. What do we want our class to experience and understand about this topic? When you're thinking about a theme or a topic, the most important thing is not, oh, it's Thanksgiving, so we need to do Thanksgiving. What do you want children to learn about Thanksgiving? What do you want children to learn about harvest time, right? So think about it in those terms. Okay, now we're going to talk about some different curriculum methods, and you have a curriculum method report that you're going to do. So here we go. Maria Montessori, we talked about her back in the early childhood historical, what do we call them, figures. First female doctor in Italy. She was specifically interested in helping children become independent because she was working with orphans, and she was basically training them to work in the houses of rich people. So they did independent learning, right? Her understanding of how children work was that they would do the task that you had available for them. If you set it up, put the environmental supports out there and said, okay, this is what we have for you. Now you go and do it. So she also focused on sensory materials and developed a bunch of different toys. And children in Montessori are grouped in multi-age environments. Montessori teachers don't do a lot of direct teaching. They do facilitating. So they are setting up the environment, putting out the materials, and letting the children decide where they want to play and what they want to do. One thing with Montessori is there's not a huge dramatic and creative play element to it. So when they are doing creative or dramatic play, they're really taking on roles of people who are workers, and that's what they do. So you'll watch some videos about this stuff. I just talked about that. The teachers are directing without interfering, like I said, and they are observing to see what children are doing and constantly changing and giving new activities and materials based on children's interests and what they're doing. Okay. Reggio Emilia is a popular curriculum type that's based on an approach used in Northern Italy. It's based on Piaget, constructivism, and Vygotsky. And basically what it is, it's very project oriented. So it is not, you don't decide in advance what the kids are going to do. You wait for the children to be interested in things. And then you look at what are some things that they're particularly interested in. So you might say, oh my gosh, they're outside and they're really interested in what's happening with trees. So then you begin a project based on trees, and you do all kinds of different things. You might do investigations on how the leaves are changing. You might do investigations on, are the leaves falling from the trees? What happens when they fall from the trees? What do we do with leaves? How do, that kind of stuff. And then there's a special focus on arts in Reggio Emilia. So in a Reggio school, things are very natural. The environment is very natural. You don't have a lot of plastic and that kind of stuff. You have wood bookshelves and lots of natural materials to play with. And there's a special art studio. So art is done in an art studio in the building. A lot of connection to the outdoors. And then at the end of a study, so you might study trees for 4 or 5 weeks. At the end, you do some sort of event. and invite the families of the children in to talk about what are the things that we learned and show off all of the activities and artwork and stuff that you did in the process. In Reggio Emilia, the teachers work very collaboratively. They organize environments rich in possibilities and provocations. Provocations are basically sort of setting up things for children to key into and go, oh, I'm interested in that thing. They introduce open-ended found materials to generate project ideas, invite questions and test hypotheses. This is the sort of research part of it. Children are recording and documenting what they're doing as they go, and the teachers are learning alongside the children. So in a Reggio Emilia program, it would be common for a teacher to say, oh, I didn't know that. I learned something about the way leaves change or whatever. Waldorf schools are very interesting, and there are very specific guidelines about how children work in Waldorf schools, how the materials are presented, how the learning environment is set up. Imagination is stressed in Waldorf schools. Storytelling is emphasized. So the way it works is a teacher will start with a group, a story, and that story may continue for several weeks that they're working on together, that they're talking about, they're discussing with each other. Lots of natural materials, lots of focus on children doing what they're interested in doing. And through play and lots of conversations and interactions. Like Montessori, Waldorf teachers must be certified in the Waldorf style. Montessori teachers need to be certified as well. And they're very much there to facilitate, to encourage children's imaginations and to do that storytelling part of it. High Scope is another curriculum that's a little bit different. It's a little bit more corporate, I guess, for lack of a better term. It's emergent, so it's not planned in advance. The children help determine the curriculum. Plan, do, review is the teaching learning cycle. So you plan what you're going to do, right? You have an idea of, we're going to study pizza. So we plan, well, what are we going to plan? What are we going to talk about today? Well, I think today we're going to make pizzas with blocks, right? So we do that, and then we talk about it. So it's the children are involved in developing the experience, having the experience, and then reviewing the experience. So it helps them engage and understand an experience in a different way. Okay. High Scope teachers plan activities based on children's interest, facilitate learning through encouragement, engage in positive adult-child interactions. And then they also want to provide classroom materials that reflect the home life and cultural background and promote independence and autonomy. Project approach is a way of looking at a specific thing. It's not a curriculum, but it can fit into a lot of different curriculum styles. And basically, it's an investigation into something that children are interested in. And it gives children an opportunity to do a deep sort of dive into a topic. Some project approach topics that we've done are balls or shoes, or like I said, pizza, apples. It gives you a way of looking at a specific thing in a bunch of different ways. It gives children the encouragement to think about something in new ways, to encourage their curiosity and their discovery and their research. And then at the end, they share all of their findings with others. Project approach teachers, they facilitate the projects and investigations by listening to what children are thinking and talking about, and then they help them through the process. In the project approach, phase 1 is exploring previous experiences. So thinking about the things that the kids are really interested in. and then coming up with an idea of what to study, and then you study the topic, and then you share what you've learned with parents and others. And a project approach can take weeks. It can take, you can do it scaled down sort of and do it in 1 week, or you can spend a whole month studying a topic, as long as the kids are continuing to be interested in it. So that's curriculum models.